Today in Cannabis News, state legislators in Pennsylvania plan to hold a hearing on DUI safeguards for medical cannabis patients. A former U.S. Republican congressperson breaks the trend of once anti-legalization politicians joining the cannabis industry. And 80 prominent law enforcement authorities, as well as a nominee of President Biden, petition the U.S. Supreme Court to take up a case regarding supervised drug consumption centers. It's Tuesday, September 21st, and this is your Trichomes Morning Buzz.
Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California, it's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
First up, a measure to shield medicinal cannabis patients from being charged through Pennsylvania's zero-tolerance DUI rules is slated to be heard in a state Senate panel this week. State Senator Camara Bartolotta is sponsoring a proposal that would change state law to mandate law enforcement to provide evidence of ongoing impairments before a licensed patient may be penalized for driving while intoxicated. Proponents argue that the existing absence of detailed safeguards for the state's estimated 368,000 patients places them in a legal peril while driving. In June 2020, Bartolotta submitted an early iteration of the proposal. During then, they urged that the state ensure that the legal use of this medicine does not give rise to a criminal conviction. The Pennsylvania State House passed a different amendment to implement the new policy months after the solo reform measure was offered.
Next up, Red, White, and Bloom Brands, Inc., a multi-state cannabis firm, has hired former U.S. Representative Ryan Costello to help it traverse the challenging regulatory landscape, leaning on their background in Congress as the firm expands. Several former politicians who have joined the cannabis market recently have histories of being uncooperative or even antagonistic to legalization while in government. The company's announcement, however, breaks that trend as it features a former Republican congressperson who has a long history of backing cannabis reform legislation. The congressperson was a co-sponsor of a number of measures, such as ones to protect states that have legalized cannabis from federal intrusion and supported other reform amendments. The trend has irritated activists, as it appears that the persons most likely to gain from legalization are those who obstruct it in Congress. Former GOP House Speaker John Boehner is the most well-known case of this, having been chastised by advocates for their anti-legalization stance while in government before entering the board of the cannabis corporation Acreage Holdings.
Last up, a group of 80 former and present prosecutors and law enforcement personnel, along with one who is President Joe Biden's selection for U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, has submitted a brief imploring the Supreme Court to hear a case about the legal aspects of creating a safe injection center where individuals can use illegal substances under medical supervision. Safe House, a nonprofit group, was planning to open a supervised consumption center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, when it was thwarted by a court action from former President Trump's administration, and it petitioned the country's highest court to review the matter last month. Fair and Just Prosecution, an organization of law enforcement personnel, is now urging the Supreme Court to engage with an amicus brief. Activists will be watching the Biden Justice Department to see if it will maintain federal resistance to safe injection centers if the court decides to take up the case. Safe House is running a considerable risk by appealing its defeat in a lower court in front of a majority of conservative judges, as it would be an unprecedented matter that could guide policies for the foreseeable future.
That was today's Buzz. Thanks for listening. For more cannabis news and insights from industry professionals and a place to discuss these stories and others, visit trichomes.com.
And be sure to catch up with all of our other cannabis industry-related podcasts like Hash It Out, Tech and Cannabis, or the International Cannabis Conversation, wherever you get your podcasts. For trichomes.com, I'm RJ Balde.
And I'm Devin Leal. Have a great day.